Yeah, what's controversial? We got Larry Flares here and Mike.
I'd like to call the Property Management Committee to order. First order of business is approved minutes from last meeting. If I have a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Got a motion, second. Any discussion? If not, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposes? Motion passed. First thing on the agenda is the Las Casas Convenience Center lease. I think the mayor
And Mr. Nolan.
and Mr. Nolan is gonna present that to us.
Okay. I don't know. I didn't make a copy of this for them. Did you, Matt? I don't.
I've got 2 copies.
Anyway, it's the same lease we've got with them currently, and I have one. Do y'all have one down there? Anybody needs to look at one? What we want to do is, this would extend the lease at the current same rate for 1 more year, and we would have an additional 1 more year option if we chose to exercise it. And this would give us more time to really decide what the right thing to do is long-term as far as an additional site that we may purchase somewhere else out there. And when we do that, we probably want to be sure that has enough space to put an ambulance station out there. So there are some properties we've looked at, but we really haven't felt like they were exactly what we wanted to do, and they weren't at a price that we thought was really appropriate. And we believe, give us a little bit more time and let us work through this, and this will commit us for 1 more year for sure right where we are, which is working fine, but it needs some growth and expansion capability, but we're not quite prepared to do it, and we don't want to invest the capital in a place that we really won't serve us for a long time and give us some room to grow out there.
I think it's a smart move because that way it gives us time to plan, like you say, on the ambulance station for that area, because there is a need for that out there as well. So I think it's a good idea, and I'll make that motion we approve.
We got a motion to approve. Second. Got a second. Any more discussion? If not, I guess we'll call the roll
I can.
please.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes.
And Commissioner McAdoo, if you would, and Ms. Becky, put in your language that, you're authorizing us to execute this lease and mayor signed it, et cetera, all the right language, so when we get this through the commission, we're able to do it. Okay.
This lease should take effect January 1.
January 1. Really, it's just a carryover from the previous lease.
Yes.
And I've already spoken with the landowners, and they're willing to keep everything the way it is.
Okay. All right. Okay, next on the agenda, adult detention center kitchen expansion and renovation.
Okay.
Good evening.
Okay. We have the sheriff with us and Mr. Joe Russell, and we made this same presentation to the Public Safety Committee. And
This is the,
I
just got this.
this is fresh off the press. No, I haven't even seen it.
There we go. Take one down, pass it around.
But anyway, we told the public safety people, and you approved at the commission level the design money. We were trying to determine which direction we were going to take. Option A would be to design the renovated kitchen within the same footprint that we currently have, with putting the freezer and cooler outside that footprint on the outside of the building. And option B is to add about 2,500 square feet. And I believe we gave over, I know, to the public safety what we're currently doing. And if we stay within our current footprint, we can still serve about 1,000 meals at a time. And the cost for doing that is about $980,000. Now, if we expand the kitchen, it would give us the opportunity which we're going to need. It's just a matter when we need to do it and when we choose to do it and when the commission approves it. We're probably going to have to expand that jail out there to have an increased capacity. But if we go ahead and do this expansion, add this additional square footage to what we currently have, we'll be able to serve 1,500 meals or more out of that kitchen at a cost of, the original cost that we had given to us was about $1.2 million. So $980,000 for option A versus $1.2 million for option B. And option B gives us flexibility to handle a substantial number of additional meals when we actually, well, the present kitchen is only about 900, but what we're going to do with our little footprint, if we stay within our current footprint, will be about 1,000. So we just think it's in the sense of being practical and having some foresight to put us in a position to be able to accommodate this in the next, we don't know whether it's going to be 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years, but sometime in that window, you're going to have to be faced with making a decision about adding another tower likely. So we'd like to be in a position to be able to accommodate that from a process and capacity viewpoint. So we think it's reasonable to go ahead and actually do this on option B, which would be with the expansion of the actual kitchen square footage. So that's where we are today.
Mr. Chairman, that's for the newer commissioners, to kind of give you a little history on some stuff. I've been on the Public Safety Committee for the whole time I've been up here.
20 years.
20 years. And really, it's 8 to 10 years ago, we had to actually go in and put add cots. They were actually single cell cots, single cell for the inmates. We had to go in there and actually add those cots in the last 8 to 10 years, where they're actually for 2 inmates now. So that capacity has actually doubled in the last 8 to 10 years out there. And with the population boom that's projected, inmate population is going to increase as well. You know, that's kind of the history where it's been out there. It's exploded out there as far as the population, and Public Safety Committee actually has recommended this on a 6-to-1 vote. There was one that was against it, and the other 6 were in support of this.
How many prisoners do we specifically have right now? It's under 1,000, isn't it?
The maximum we hold is 958. I think 759 is this morning.
It ranges between 700 and 800 right
Yeah.
now.
Seems like if you could make 1,000 meals at one time, then you could have up to 1,000 prisoners in there eating at one time. Even if you could only make 500 meals at one time, couldn't you have 2 shifts and that would be adequate?
Well, it's not staging it like a cafeteria. It's not
Yeah.
like that.
No, but
We're feeding them up in the
We
pods.
feed it.
And
The top row comes down. They eat at the table because naturally, the pod was only designed to have 24 to 25 people per cell. So seating is 25 seats. So that means the bottom row eats in their cell. So you have to carry the food up there to them and serve them in their room or cell. And so therefore, you also have to cook it, keep it going and all that, just like what's going on at the workhouse. They're cooking 23 hours a day to try to keep up with it. We don't have the staff for that. This right here is what we need. This is adequate to what we need to get us to where we can go in the future.
The one thing that really sold me on doing the full expansion was, and I was in that 6-to-1 vote, and I voted yes for it. And the reason why I did is, when that extra tower is built, we either have to go back and add to the kitchen then at a more expensive of a cost, or we do it now for a fraction of what it would cost to expand it. Because when you do the design phase and you change all the electrical and all the plumbing and do all that the right way the first time, it's a whole lot cheaper coming back than retrofitting
They're trying to
everything.
renovate.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a cost savings. It's hard to realize right now, but it's going to be a cost savings down the road once that additional tower gets built. And it's not a matter of if that additional tower gets built, it's a matter of when.
I'm just curious on this meal shift stuff. I believe you, but what are you doing for 23 straight hours to cook these meals? I
Well,
mean,
we're
That's
over in the workhouse now.
No, I mean, if we were to fix the kitchen in its current footprint where you could have 1,000 meals at a time, we're no longer doing the workhouse, we're doing it in the jail kitchen, we can cook 1,000 meals at a time. Would it still be 23
You
hours
can't
worth?
right now because, as you saw, the way the kitchen is, we don't have all the equipment. We don't have all, we'll have to buy all new equipment and lay it out totally, and it doesn't have the proper storage for the food. That was one thing that they, if you remember out of the thing that the state sent, that it talked about not having the dry goods and storage space. And so therefore, if we have one good snowstorm or something like that, we're out of food.
Yeah, no, maybe my question should be asked in terms of the $980,000 renovation. I mean, if you were to, we'll call it, I think we're calling it Plan A. If you were to take Plan A, renovate the kitchen, its current footprint without the 2,500 foot expansion, you could do 1,000 meals at a time.
Let me see if I can address his question.
Okay, go ahead.
Here's what we're talking about. $220,000 more of capital expenditures, one-time expense. Whereas if we put a kitchen in that'll only support 1,000, we're going to have to increase staffing. Whatever it is, whether it's 25% or 30 or 40 or 50%, that is a reoccurring cost. That reoccurring cost will be in the neighborhood of at least $50,000 to $100,000 more per year. So it won't take but 2 or 3 years of savings on the reoccurring cost to pay for this capital cost, because you can staff this at a whole lot more efficient manner. So you won't have to run it as many hours. It may not be 23 hours, but instead of running it 10 or 12 hours, we'll have to run it 15 or 16. Whatever percentage of time you increase the expansion of that operation is reoccurring cost in salaries and benefits that we're going to have to deal with forever. So it doesn't take but a little while to overcome this initial startup capital cost, in my judgment.
It's no different than actually having, for a school, and building the core of that school where it's functional. If you build it, the core functional, your staffing level is going to actually increase. If it's not functional, the staffing level is going to increase tremendously because there's not enough room to function. And so you're going to have to add more hours, maybe a second shift of cooking. And it basically boils down to, like the mayor said, operational cost and functionality.
Yeah, I like to bring up one point. Now, he gave the actual number of inmates that's in that jail at one time, but it's one number that he's leaving out. That's booking. Booking also required that they be fed if they're there during that time.
Well, then you also have
And-
weekenders.
And weekenders. So that actual figure that he's giving you is not a true actual figure of the activity down there at the jail, because booking is the capacity all the time. And then he got weekenders coming in there that's not added into that figure. So you talking about pushing it toward that 950
There's been
to 1,000.
1,000
Last
prisoners out
Thursday
there.
night, we booked in 56 people between 10 o'clock at night and 6 o'clock in the morning because of one roundup by the city.
So the capacity on that jail, sometimes it's misleading when you say, oh, this is the number of inmates out here. But
That's
he
the
has
ones
a
up in
lot,
the tower.
yeah, he has a lot of activity out there.
Right. And I'm not trying to be argumentative, I'm just trying to understand the issue.
Yeah.
But it sounds like the argument you just gave to me is a different argument than the first argument. The first argument was, we're cooking 23 hours a day and we literally can't have 2 shifts. Now the argument is, we'd need a second shift and it would cost more money because it'd be additional.
Workhouse is doing
Okay.
right now.
Yeah,
to
they
do
haven't
this.
cooked 23 hours.
We
ever.
don't. We never did.
Before they shut this down, no, they were not.
No, we were not.
It would just.
But what's going to happen is if we don't have something big enough, when his population grows out there, we're going to have to add a second shift, and that operating cost of that second shift is going to cost us what it's going to be to actually pay for this in the long run.
So it's not infeasible to have a second meal shift,
No.
it's just a little more expensive because you need the additional.
Because it,
Right.
because it becomes reoccurring costs into where we have to hire 6 to 8 more employees to start it, and so then you've got their salary plus their benefits, and then their uniforms and all that stuff.
Mayor Burgess, with the brick renovation, didn't we have some savings there that we can roll into this? to
You
help?
really, there is some savings. We had estimated about 300. It's come in at 215 plus the cost of engineering and et cetera. So there is some potential savings there. We don't know what that'll be until we get through with this. We may encounter some things when we go through this brick remediation that we don't know about. And I really wouldn't want to say for sure that the money's really there, to be honest with you, because they may uncover some of this and we may have to spend some more money through a change order that needs to be done. So don't count that money quite yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like for us to get a clear understanding of, especially ones on this committee, before we leave here, about this kitchen renovation, because I'm pretty sure it's gonna come up on the commission floor. So if you got any questions, just feel free to ask them. Here's where we need to discuss it.
If we decided we later needed to add on to the kitchen, would it really be an additional 1.2 million, or could we add on for a smaller amount? I mean, I guess the question I'm asking now is, what if we stayed within the current footprint, spent $980,000 to renovate, and then a couple of years from now we decide we need to expand? Would it be a full $1.2 million to expand, or would it be just a fraction of that to add on a little more area outside for a couple of more coolers and things
No,
like
it
that?
certainly wouldn't be a 1.2 million, but instead of 220,000, we might spend 400,000 or 500,000 to do that. Because if we do it now, the kitchen design person has this square footage to work with, and he can go ahead and make this flow like it should be now. Otherwise, he has to figure out, well, what should I do now? And then we're going to have to do something to add this on later. It would be more than the $220,000 at that point. I don't know how much more. But
Because you want to go back off into what's already been done and refigure it, and because it needs to be functional.
Re-engineer.
Re-engineer,
replumb.
yeah.
And it's always, it's a cheap option to double your capacity for 20%. You know, it's kind of a pretty good trade-off.
Well, how does this figure into the entire renovation of the jail?
The kitchen would be done.
The kitchen would be out of that figure.
Yeah,
What
would
was
be
it?
out of, it was
Yeah.
8 million is
It
what
was-
the mayor was wanting to allot us.
Yeah,
8 to 9 million.
This is money you won't spend whenever we do the other portion of the building, that the renovation that needs to be addressed in the addition, et cetera.
So instead of doing the full renovation of the jail like we had kind of talked about last year, we're doing
You're doing
what
the-
we have to have right now,
Yeah.
and then at a later date, do the rest of the renovation later.
Correct. Because talking about putting stuff off, that's what's happened over the past 10 years, is everything's been, well, what about if we come back in a couple of years? If we come back in a couple of years, well, now we're back and going, we've asked, several times, and a couple of years have dragged on.
Well, I understand. I just asked that because I think that's a question that's going to come up, particularly when, at the moment, if there's 759 prisoners, and we're wanting to
But come Friday
serve
night.
1,500 meals.
759 plus
Plus.
your booking.
Plus
Your
booking,
booking.
plus weekenders.
Plus, come Friday night, you're hitting right around 775, 800.
And then I'm sure the population goes up in the winter months too.
Yes, we're fixing to start going up with that. Last year we got close to 900, so, and 958's our magic number.
Some of us were just at this Tennessee County Service Association meeting, and they had a couple of speakers there, Terry Hazard and Jim Hart, and I forgot the number precisely, but jails depreciate at a rate at least 3 times as fast as normal buildings that are used. So, I mean, when you got a jail that's just 10 years old, it's 30 years old compared to what you would see in a normal commercial building. So you just can't imagine the use that these things are getting from top to bottom.
And another thing he brought out is that when you run a jail over capacity, it deteriorates at a faster rate than that 30%. And that was brought out in that conference also.
And if you think really and truly, that jail
That's
was
how
only
we've been
built,
running it.
was for, what was it, 500 people?
Yes.
And now we're running 700 people, plus in there. So we were able to add the extra beds, and the state was like, okay, you can get away with that.
This cost for the whole project includes all the new kitchen appliances and equipment.
Yeah, it's between $300,000 and $400,000 of that money is equipment. Now, we're going to use as much as we can, but that's going to be that much more for new equipment. So a huge piece of that is in the equipment.
It's going to have to be replaced.
Yeah.
And the commissioner, I'm glad he's asking those questions because he's gonna be our representative on budget and finance. And I'm pretty sure they're gonna hit him pretty hard.
Oh, yeah.
So any questions you got that we need to clarify, let's do it.
And speaking of that, I mean, being Chairman of the Public Safety, and I'll bring this up, because you've already been asked this, and by one commissioner on the committee, Commissioner P was asking something about the amount per meal. And you'll probably hit with that again in budget, since he's on budget. Our meals out there that y'all it's costing us, what, 88 cents a meal?
83 cents, I believe, is what we were doing it for. Now I believe it's right at $1 roughly that we're paying the workhouse. The school board, we did contact the school board. That's what P asked.
Right.
And they feed 1 meal a day at this. Well, actually they feed 2, but he was talking about 1 meal. Rutherford County School Board spends $2.49 per meal per student, and that's because they feed a lot more vegetables and fruits and a little more, I guess you would say.
And they're not even transporting.
They're not transporting, and actually, from what I understand, Mr. Gill was not willing to burden his cafeterias to even think about trying to
You
do
can't do that
this.
at the workhouse either. They're wearing out equipment over there right now.
Right.
Yeah, well,
And I bring it up because
Yeah,
that's, we're bringing all the questions and
Yeah.
you'll hear it on
You'll
budget.
hear it
Clear
again.
picture.
It
of
was brought
budget.
up, and that way, everything's on the table, and everybody, we're comparing apples to apples.
That was
instead
a
of
big
apples and
question,
oranges.
Mr. Pease, was the price.
Yeah.
Could somebody else provide it cheaper than the
Than what
sheriff's
we're
department
doing.
providing it? And
And we asked the school board, and they said they weren't even willing to burden their cafeterias. But they did tell us that they pay $2.49 per meal for lunch for students, and that's because they feed a little healthier type diet than what we feed.
I think the budget committee will want to develop a sense of priorities on what it can and wants to fund this year. If we expand the kitchen, then presumably separately, then we're not doing the full jail renovation right now. Do you have any sense or forecast of what you think what capital expenditures you'll be requesting over the course of the rest of this fiscal year?
Well,
And I
naturally-
just say that because I do think the budget committee is going to want to prioritize money for a dispatch center versus money for a kitchen. Maybe in a position where we can't do it all, and the budget committee will want to know what's most
Well,
important.
this has got a different funding mechanism to it.
Yeah.
This
I
is
understand
through
it's taken
litigation.
out of the litigation
Yeah,
tax,
okay,
but
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And,
everything else come out undesignated like. yeah,
Right.
I
What
agree.
we have on the table right now, if you recall, we have this kitchen, we have the dispatch, and then we are in the process, the mayor and I are looking for space to go to. Just the other day, the women lost their locker room. It's now gonna be an office. And we've reconfigured this building to the point that there's not more, another inch, and we're gonna need something. So you've got those three things that are literally on the table right now. We've got, so in all of these things, this is one of my mandatory duties, statutory duties as sheriff. So it's the same thing with dispatch. I've got to have people, I'm going to put them in the hallway and the fire marshal's going to shut us down. So, I mean, what has happened over the past 15 years is the county has put all of its priority towards schools, and I'm all for that, for kids. But yet, on our side of the budget, we've been left behind. And it's got to the point where we've got to catch up. The commission, we need your help in catching up, and to the point we can't let anything go. It's been, as you said earlier, can we put it off a couple of years? Can we put it off a couple of years? And now we're to the point, at some point you got to pay the piper. And we just need help. I mean, you've been down there. We have no more space.
We've got guys in a room this size, 5 people in a room,
Yeah.
desks and everything. I mean,
I think I
and that's
heard,
not an uncommon occurrence. I mean, there's like 4 or 5 spots like that.
Literally, one of the lieutenants, when he comes through, everybody has to pull up to their desk, suck up, and he still pushes them over his desk or their desk to get through so he can get to his desk.
I think I heard.
And they're in a closet.
I think I heard when, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm out there quite often, is that we getting ready to even use the lobby.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We have started, I'm moving the judicial commissioners out of their office, and we are creating more space in the lobby. So now the public doesn't have as much room to be in.
one thing
So-
that I'll say, and we just voted to expand a school, and parents might hate me for saying this, but if it's a kid getting an education in a portable classroom or a 911 system working, where if their kid, something happens to them and what's the difference between an ambulance coming or not? That 911 system is more important than them sitting in a classroom. When we put our priorities into putting that child in a fixed facility, you gotta have
Let me correct,
the safety stuff.
let me correct something here. There's it's not the 911 system, it's communication.
It's communication.
There's a difference between 911, we got a 911 system and then communications. I just want to clarify.
For the 911 dispatch, where the call comes to them to where they can send something to help. Yeah, you're right.
I don't want anybody thinking that 911 system.
Mr. Mayor?
I'd like to go back to Commissioner Bob's question and sort of address the big picture. Okay, the kitchen, if we go forward with $1.2 million, we know we've got about $900,000 available. And so we're gonna need $300,000 of new money there, okay, from some source. On the dispatch system, we've got a grant from the 911 emergency group of $215,000. And it's going to cost 400 plus 100. It's gonna cost over $500,000 to put this dispatch in. So and we'd already sort of amended the budget to, which included the 215 at 350. So we're gonna need another $150,000. So just say maybe 170 or thereabouts. In any event, with 300 plus 170, we have some sources for that money. Our development tax has still got about $2 million in it. So, and we don't want to spend anything we don't have to spend. I don't want to make the point that we're just going to spend it because we got it. But we do have some monies there, and certainly we do have some in the actual general fund, which is substantially exceeds the amount that we say we need to keep on reserve. Thirdly, when we get to the point of finishing this bond issue, I think you'll see that there is some dollars there that are available that will give you some flexibility, a substantial amount, maybe as much as $1 million. So I believe we'll find the money without having to even maybe go back to the general fund when this is all over. Continuing a little bit further, when we talked about 2 or 3 years ago the full expansion of this jail and the sheriff's office and the administrative parts of it, et cetera, it was over $9 million that we sort of had projected. We've sort of taken the big thing, the big elephant off the table. We're trying to take a few bites here. The kitchen, the dispatch, and there's another approach that we're thinking seriously about presenting to you after we sort of got our act together and our homework done, whereby we could acquire some more space. And if we acquire that space and convert it for some other needs and move some of the people out of his building, this is going to buy you several years of time before you have to go back and spend the balance of $7 million or so, okay? So we could probably spend another $1 million, which would be the third piece of this as we're going to need at some point, and allow us to buy 2 or 3 or more years before you come back and have to spend the money and really flesh out and finish the total plan that we sort of had in place to start with. So that's sort of where we're going. And there may be enough money, even short term, to make all of that happen without putting us in a serious strain.
That's good information and good news. I just was bringing up priorities, kind of like Commissioner Young was talking about the importance of the dispatch center. I get the sense on the budget committee that there's some folks who probably think the dispatch center is a little bit more important than the kitchen renovations.
Really, right now, we don't really have much choice on either one of them.
They're even keeled.
Yeah.
They're going to have to, somehow we got to make this happen.
Yeah.
There's 2 issues. On the kitchen issue, they've done been inspected, and there's a plan of corrective action that he submitted to the state. That's part of the process. The dispatch center, the communication part, there's some needs in there as far as communication that they're having to go out on eBay and buy parts and stuff like that. That's not operational. So basically they're separate, but they're just as important as
And
the
they're
other.
2 statutory duties
that I'm required to do by law.
Oh, I understand
have
that.
to.
This is,
It's
I'm
not a need.
I'm not
it's a have
suggesting
to.
that we don't address the kitchen. I'm just suggesting we have a decision between Plan A and Plan B. There's a $220,000 differential, and if that
Right.
money could be shifted to the dispatch center,
And I was an infant when the dispatch center was
Well,
bought.
we've got 4 employees, I believe, that are working at the dispatch center that it's older than they are. So, we just got.
Please help.
Yeah, please help. Please. I mean, I understand most people, when it comes to inmates and prisoners, they just want to put them somewhere, lock them up, and throw away the key. But we have to, by law, we are required to give them so many calories a day. We're to treat them a certain way. Naturally, these people are somebody's mother, father, brother, uncle, aunt. And so you want them to be treated with respect and be treated fairly and right. And that's what we do. I mean, that's what I preach to my guys every day is the golden rule. And, and I want to provide for these guys the way that they should be. Even though I don't agree with what they did to land them there, but we have to take care of these people.
Well, I think the mayor and the sheriff have got a plan.
They got a good plan.
And I think what we need to do is, I think we need to support the plan. The mayor's got a plan as far as on how to pay for it. And I think with that, I'll make a motion that we approve the request to do Plan B. And that was approved by the Public Safety Committee.
The full.
Full.
Do I have a second to that motion? Got a second, Commissioner Santos. And I just want to ask one question. What time frame are we looking at? So we can get some idea. If we approve Plan B, what time frame are we looking at before that kitchen be completed and you can be using it?
If you get in there before next July the 1st, we'll be flying.
Be flying. So therefore, we got to use the workhouse. Put
Yes,
that
sir.
stress and strain on the workhouse for at least another
We don't have a choice.
6 to 8 months.
Yes.
And by that time's up, we're gonna be spending money on repairing or replacing equipment
Replacing
at the
equipment at
workhouse.
the workhouse.
But we have to do what we
Yeah,
have to
I know.
do sometimes.
And we are already sending one of the ovens that we took out of our kitchen. I believe they were coming over to look at it today, the county maintenance guys, and we're gonna take it over to the workhouse, and they're gonna figure out how to engineer it into there so it can help them do some things quicker. So we're already having to use the equipment that's at the jail, and we're starting to send it over to the workhouse to kind of help.
There's a lot of creative work being
Yeah.
done.
Yes.
I'm very impressed.
Any more discussion?
What they can do.
So this will go to the budget committee, right, after this committee?
Any more discussion? And Commissioner Baum got to be the one that
And the bid could come back cheaper than 1.2 million. so.
yeah, we never know, but that's the figure we're looking at. Any more discussion? You feel comfortable?
I give up.
If not, call the roll.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Farley,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo.
Yes.
And Mr. McAdoo, the sheriff mentioned it and I mentioned it. There's some probability that we will bring before you at the next meeting a little bit more detailed information about a plan that will help us gather 3 or 4 years of relief potentially if we choose to acquire another building of sorts that would allow us to move some things now and put off the major expenditure for a while.
Well, that's good. Anything else Sheriff would like to bring up?
If that's it.
That's all we got.
Also, I would like to bring this up, but anytime you want to take a tour of that jail, it's an open house policy out there with the sheriff. Any one of you can just call him up, and he'll be glad to give you a complete, precise tour.
2
And answer
a.m. in
all
the
your
morning.
questions.
You call me, tell me when it's good for you. I don't care what time it is. I will make myself available to your schedule.
Yeah, he gave a good tour, I attended probably about 2 or 3 occasions.
Well, we had already planned on doing 2 open houses a year. And we were going to do one in October, but we decided to put that off until after the kitchen is done. So we naturally, when the kitchen is done, we'll do an open house again. But we have planned on inviting the public twice a year out to the jail
to inform them. But anytime that y'all are bored and want to take a tour of the county jail, please.
That's true. The sheriff gave me a tour of the kitchen. I have
Yes.
seen it.
Yeah.
But like,
24/7, 365.
but like I say,
They're closed.
if you wake up in the middle of the night and you want to come out there, just call me. I will be happy to come
Okay.
and do it.
Anything else? Any other questions we got for the sheriff since he's here? You definitely will be at budget.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I'll be at budget.
We'll be there.
Be there.
You get to go to every committee meeting.
Yes, I'm the one elected official besides the mayor that gets to go to every committee meeting, it seems. So, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is a rescheduled next meeting due to Thanksgiving holiday. And, we were looking at the date of December the 1st, which is a Thursday, at 5:30 p.m. And we're trying to push it out as far as we can because it's my understanding that we're gonna have something that will be presented to us. So this time frame seems to be a good time frame for them also. So do anybody have any objections to December the 1st, 2011? Any conflict of other committees? I don't think it is.
No.
I don't think I need a motion on that. So our next meeting will be December
December
1st,
1st.
2011 at 5:30 p.m. unless I hear any objections. Okay. Is there any other business that need to come before the committee?
I'll just make you aware of the fact that the lease will be expiring in May of the convenience center located in Laverne, Sand Hill Convenience Center. So we will have before you, hopefully by next meeting, a renewal proposal on that lease as well. And we've leased that for 10 years and basically at $1 for the whole 10-year period. So we think they're going to extend that lease again, just like that. So we don't have it in hand yet.
I think that would take a lot of wear and tear. A lot of people use that Sand Hill Convenience Center though. Yeah.
I've got a quick question
Okay.
on the fire department lease for the fire department. Is that, we're not going to have, is that the new station going to be done?
It won't be
Before-
done, but we're going to improvise for a period of time
Alrighty.
somehow. We're going to make a workable plan.
Okay, I knew that there wasn't enough money there for the
There's
whole
not enough
year,
money for the
so
whole year.
I was,
we won't
and I
be-
know it's getting somewhere close to where the money's.
It won't be complete by the time that lease really is up. So we're going to make we're going to make do with some of the other spaces we have, we think.
Okay. Good. Any other business come before the committee? If not, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, meeting adjourned.
Yes.